Hi, Faxi Nadu here, and I want to take a look today with you guys at Max MSP and the way it integrates into Ableton Live with Max4Live. And I'm also pretty new to this platform. I've used other modulars and design platforms in the past, but never went really into Max or Max4Live until a need has arisen. And the need that we had was we have the synth, which is the Waldorf Rocket, and this synth is a really neat synth, but it does not have a control device. What it has is just a app for the iPad. It doesn't even work on an iPhone, just for the iPad, and nothing for computer or for the Mac for controlling it. And as you can see, it is actually an analog synth, and the encoders are not endless, and there's no indication. If you mess around with the knobs and you want to get back to the sound that you had, um, there's no real quick way to do that. And like in a live situation where you have a number of tracks that are using the Rocket or a synth like this, and you'd like a quick way to recall parameters and do that over Midi, and for that you would need an editor. And we decided that with Max4Live would be a great option to build that in, and a good way to learn to get into Max4Live as well. So let's get into it. What we actually want to do is have the Rocket, have Max4Live, have a device in Live like a VST plugin, a Max plugin that will transmit MIDI control numbers that the Rocket understands and knows what corresponds to what. And when we move the knob on our device, it'll internally change the sound on the right parameter on the Rocket. So we need to know what are the control numbers inside the Rocket for each one of these parameters over here. And this is provided by the manual of the Rocket that I've downloaded, and over here on page 34 is a MIDI control number MIDI implementation chart. Now what this tells us is exactly what we need, is what each controller corresponds to, what number it corresponds to, and these numbers go from 1 to 127. So it could be any one of these values, and this chart tells us which of these values. And it also tells us that there are some parameters on the Rocket that cannot be accessed at all over MIDI, and these are the headphone volume, just for the headphones, not the overall volume, but the headphone output volume, the filter type, which is really weird that they don't have it on there, the boost switch, and the launch button. So everything else we can control over MIDI. So what we need is to take these control numbers, make knobs, and have these control numbers, have these knobs correspond to the right control numbers. And this might look hectic, but it is actually really simple. It's just copy-paste. Everything here is copy-paste, except one little thing that I will show you. And okay, so this, before we get into what I've done, this is Max4Live. This is the patcher window. Over here you do everything. This little line here, as Live is with its devices, they go just to a certain height. So you have a little line over here that tells you how high, like where to place your design, basically. Everything under that line is hidden. I've hidden it, and is also just part of the patch, but like a technical part, and everything above is what the user sees and uses in the end. I'll show you in the end how it looks in Ableton. So everything in here, everything in Max is a module, including knobs, including text, including panels, and including math operations. Everything is a module. And if you go over to the Explorer, there are just millions of modules. I've only gotten to know a very few of them, and obviously, yeah, there's just a ton of them, and they go from more or less mid-high level modules that are like implementing like higher synthesis functions into really, really low modules like addition and subtraction and multiplication, and we'll actually be using subtraction in our patch, so I'll be able to show you that as well. So, like I've said, everything is a module. Everything is handled graphically, but also with parameters as well. So it's kind of like a combination of scripting, but in a very graphical way. So the first thing we need to do is we want knobs. So I've taken out from over here a dial. And this is just the same as this. And this knob will be the actual thing that the user, that you see, and that you turn, and this will be the same in the virtual world, the same as the physical knob on your Waldorf or on your synth. And being a Midi knob, as you turn it, is already scaled to Midi. It's, you know, the positions are 1 to 127. So you have the knob, but you have to tell it, you know, what is it actually controlling? What parameter is it actually controlling? So I have it also in the patch, but I've set up a side here just for the example. What you need is a module called control out, which is really handy. It's really cool that Max has this direct, and it transmits MIDI controller messages, values to a MIDI device. And if you look, there is a module reference. Every module you can right click, which is really, really handy and really helpful. And you have both a help and a module reference, and they're a bit different. They give you different information about how to use this module. So this module, all you basically got to do is append to the text. You know, if I just open a new one, it'll just say control out. All I need to do is add to it the controller number and over what channel it is sending it over. So for this example, for the Rocket, let's go for, I've have it on 74. That's my example. Let's see what was 74. And yeah, it is filter cutoff. Controller number 74. And I'm using channel 1, so control out 74.1. The knob connected. As it is, ladies and gentlemen, you have finished. You've done your job. You've connected the cutoff. And let's play in Ableton. Ableton, where's my Rocket? So it's playing the Rocket now. And that is my cutoff knob. And this one should, yeah, it's the same, right? Because it's also going to control 74. So on a technical level, shut up. Okay. On a technical level, just with knobs, this is all you need to do. And you've connected. And everything else that you see here that is a knob is just copy paste. All I've done is copy paste. And changed the control number. So, you know, let's say I want, this was the cutoff. I want glide now. So copy, paste. I have another one. And I change the number inside. That's it. Now it's controlling glide. And like I said, every single thing here is a module, but it also has parameters. So let's say you don't want it to be called live dial. You want it to be called cutoff, right? So you go over here into the inspector, and over here you have a bunch of values, and these values, available value fields, are dependent on the module. Each module will have different things. And if you scroll over here, name, short name, live dial, and all I want to do is change it to cut, and that's it. It's called cut now. So copy paste every single one of these, change the name of the knob, change the control number, and that's it. All these knobs are working. Now, a little bit of a different situation is with the switch boxes. Now, a knob, the way it acts in MIDI is 0 to 127, right? If I move each one of these knobs, 127 positions. But how many positions does this have? This doesn't have 127 positions. This has 2 positions. This isn't like an on-off switch, basically, right? Kind of. Not exactly, because it's not. Forget that. It's not an on-off switch, but it's a 2-position switch. And over here we have a 3-position switch. So what do we do with that, right? So essentially, it's the same. There's no really big difference. But there is one thing that arose just because Waldorf have made it difficult on us. And what is going on is this. How does this work? So there's not 120 positions. There are 3 positions. And these 3 positions, doesn't matter what you name them. And I can actually have a million positions and just add to this. If I go right here, I'll show you. Let's bring out let's go back to the Explorer. No, let's just show you on this one. Okay, let's go into the inspector. Let's inspect this one. And here, over here, I just want to show you that, the naming is my naming. It's square, try, saw, but I could have just written down anything. I could have written Faxi, Nadu, Ocean, Star, whatever. And as many as you add here, it will add them over here. That's what I was trying to say. So if you have 10 things to add, just add 10 things, and it'll have 10 things. Essentially, that would have been it. All you would have to do, and okay. And what it outputs is not the names, it outputs numbers. So each position has a number. So this would be 0, this would be 1, this would be 2. And it'll continue and go on and on and on and on. Now, the thing is, it would be just as simple as just connecting it into the right control out. If we look over here, this is actually the LFO waveform choice, right? So it's square, triangle, and saw. So if we go into LFO shape, saw, try, pulse, right? So, and they are on 0, 1, and 2. But what you will notice is something kind of funny. And if it were, you could just connect them, and it would work. But the funny thing is, saw here is 0, try is 1, and pulse is 2. So on our locations, this would be 0, 1, and 2, right? But if you go on the Rocket, it is the opposite. So what you need to do is you need to flip the knobs. The 0 needs to be on top, then the 1, and then the 2. But again, this is kind of weird. The saw is 0, the try stays 1, and the pulse is 2. So you need to flip them in order to get that, right? Because the pulse is on top. The pulse needs to be 0. It doesn't need to be 2. The triangle needs to stay 1, and the saw needs to be 2. Again, you see, I really suck at math, and this is just boggles my mind that they did it this way. Bottom line, what you need to do is you have to have the numbers switch spots in order for the top one to actually be triggering the square and the bottom one to actually be triggering the saw. So what I've had to do here, and I'll just show you real quickly, there's this folder of math operations. And what we have done is we've taken a subtraction, and we're subtracting 2. We're taking the number 2, and we're subtracting the value of each one of these from 2. What do we get bottom line? So this is 0 position. So 2 minus 0, how much is that? It's 0. And then the square becomes 0, like Waldorf wanted here. I'm sorry. Yeah, it becomes 2 is pulse. Yeah, I'm just getting confused. Okay, this is, 2 minus 2 becomes 0. And this is the right spot, which is the top spot. So yeah, this is really confusing. And this is just like, this was the only hard thing about building this. But once you understand that, then it's really simple. And you can really afterwards just connect it to the control number, and you'll be okay for these switches as well. Now, the way I found out this information, you could be like scratching your head like I was scratching my head right now, but I found it partially online, partially my father helped me, and he's really good with math. He has a master's in math. But even if he would not have helped me, all this information is available also online and also in the module reference. So you will have to kind of delve deeper into actually understanding what these modules do and what you can do with them. Or if you're really good with math, then no problem at all. You just would know how to use that you need to use 2 to subtract 2 and to get the right numbering that you want. The last thing is and this was mind-boggling thing, but the last thing, which is the two position switches, is much easier. It is also opposite. If you look over here, sustain 0 is off and 1 is on, but we don't want we want the on position to be the top position, because that's how Waldorf have done it on their device. So here we just need to invert the values, so we need to scale the values. So we're just using a scaler which just flips between them and makes 0 1 and 1 0. So that would be it for the technical side. And if this boggled your mind, the stuff with the math, this is just because I wanted it to be on the Waldorf. I could have just as easily had saw, try, and square instead of square, try, and saw, and not needed any math at all, and just connect them like any other controllers, and it would have worked. Just wanted to show you that additional step. So if you're thinking, no way, I'm going to do all this, I'm going to understand and do all this math stuff, you can still make controllers for all your synths. It just might not be ordered the right way, but who cares, right? And the normal process is just as easy as I've shown here. So yeah, just a thought. So let's get to the paneling. The paneling is the most easy thing ever with this program. All you need to do is you need to take out whatever modules you want to be using for your panel, whether it be pictures that you can load, and it's just as easy as taking the pick module, and you can load anything you want into it. I'll show you really quickly. If we go in the inspector, I can load Faxi logo, scale it up, whatnot, do whatever I want with it. And of course, if you want to set it to the background and you actually want to design, your GUI and bring it over here and put it in the background and put your knobs on top, it's really easy in this program. You can add videos, you can add anything you want, basically. The panel is just a panel module. If you go inside the panel module, there are attributes for the panel, like the border colors and stuff like that, which is really nice. Color chooser. And all I've done is I've made the panel, sent it to the background, and then my knobs are on top. The text are just text modules. If you go into the Explorer comment module, and you can input any text and move it around. And then all you need to do is hide all these knobs, and you do that by, if you highlight them, pressing the Alt button on Windows, Control K will hide the knobs, and your finished product, we can delete this. Your finished product will look like this. So you can do this for any synth. You can use this to really get into Max4Live. I know that I've learned how to invert signals using math by making this patch. And if you want any controllers for your synths, hit me up. I'll accept it as a challenge and make you a controller. But really, don't be lazy. You can make it yourself. So easy. So last thing, let's look at this one in, let's not save. Let's look at it in live. And beautiful, isn't it? Yay! I'm so happy. I can play my rocket. Okay, enough is enough. Hope you enjoyed this video. Go make controllers, guys. Bye.